Today I'm going to show you how to make a necklace and earring set with the newest treasure bags, elegant and festive. Now, the bags differ just a little bit this time. So from necklace to necklace, we're going to use just a couple of different things. And I will show you that in the material list. These turn out really pretty. The way that we make them, they hang just right. So the way that I'll show you how to layer your beads in here, when you pick this up, they're going to lay with the 3 round beads on top of the 3 column beads, and they lay really pretty. Now then we'll just do a basic stringing for the back, and with the earrings, they are also layered so that when you pick them up and put them on, they will lay just like this. It's hard to show you, but that's how they'll lay, and they turn out really pretty. I put one on so that I could see that it would hang right, and you may need to shuffle your beads around a little bit just because they, move around a little bit. Once you put them on and you have them in the proper laying position, they will stay really pretty just like this. So that's the red set. This is the blue set, the blue and black set from the elegant bag, and I'll show you the pendant. Oops, come here. There we go. It's hard to show, but this is what this one looks like. Get over there. When you pick it up and you arrange it, it will arrange nicely for you, and it will stay that way pretty well. I mean, you're going to get some movement, but just because they move. But the way that we're going to put this together will keep them layered really pretty for you, and they will lay really nice. And this longer one just lays a little bit outside of the connector. So let's go ahead and look at the material list for these, and we'll get started. Okay, so let's look and see what we need for this project. I'm going to show you first the steps that you're going to use in both bags regardless, or in both designs regardless if you got the elegant or the festive treasure bag. So in your bags, in both of them, you have this round component here. We're going to be using that, and we're going to use it in both designs, of course. And then we're going to use a little bit of the chain, the golden chain that came in both bags, and we're going to use the lobster claw clasp in the golden color that came in both bags. Then adding to the bag, and just for the festive bag, I am using about 8 little bead caps, and you don't have to use them. I didn't use them in the design for the elegant bag, but I did use a few in the elegant one, but it's not necessary. And then for the earrings, you're going to need 2 ear wires, and for the earrings and the necklace, you're going to need some 6mm round in diameter, outside diameter jump rings, and I am using about 8 of them for the earrings and for the necklace. But everything will be in the description box beneath the video player if I tell you the wrong numbers or something. Then we're going to be using some size 2 crimp tubes, and this is a Bead size 2 in the golden tone. And you're going to need 4 of them. I'm also using some galvanized permanent finish 8/0 seed beads in both designs. And you can use any little spacer bead you'd like. You can do this any way you want. This is just a design idea for those who do not have the bag. You can just use your stash. And we're also going to need some, I'm using Bead 49 strand satin gold color, because I think it will blend better, but you can use any bead stringing wire you would like. But this is what I'm using. And I have cut 2 pieces about 12 inches long. Now, if you want a longer necklace than I'm making, and my necklace turns out to be about 19 inches, then you'll cut a little bit longer pieces and bead the back of the necklace a little bit more. If you want it shorter, of course, you can go shorter. And then For the festive bag, we will be using the column beads that you got in your bag. And these are the nice chunky column beads in the red tone. And for the elegant bag, you'll be using the same beads, however, they are in blue. And then we will be using some 6mm round beads. For the elegant, we will be using the 6mm round black crystal glass beads. And for the festive, we will be using the 6mm round old lace pearls. Now, I used these in a previous tutorial, but I only used about 13. So if you already did that tutorial, you should still have enough to do this design. That's the benefit of having these really long strands, is you can use them in a few pieces, not just one. Then we are going to be using, for the festive bag, these 8mm round ripple patterned electroplated glass beads. And that's for the festive. And we're going to use 9 of them. You have 10. Then we are going to be using, for the elegant bag, because we don't have those beads in the elegant bag, we're going to be using the golden framed round blue beads in your bag. So these are electroplated glass, faceted glass, and they're 8mm round, and you're going to be using some of these in the elegant design. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this design with the festive bag. However, I will show you what, as I make it, what I've used for the elegant bag too. So let's go ahead and get started with this project. Oh, and I cannot forget, you're going to need some head pins. Sorry about that. So I have these little ball head pins, and I believe we're going to be using about 12 of them. So you'll want some little golden tone head pins. They don't have to be ball head pins, but you'll want something that matches your golden tone here. And let's go ahead and get started. Okay, to start this project, we're going to be making the little dangles that go inside the component first. So I had said that you'll need 12 head pins, but I believe you're going to need 15 if you make the earrings too. So we're going to start by making 6 dangles for each design. So for the festive bag, we're going to be using the red and the blue column beads, 3 of them, 2 of the black, and 1 of the blue golden topped ones for the elegant bag. For the festive bag, 3 of the red, and then your ripple electroplated one, and then 2 of your pearls. And then you're going to need, of course, you're going to need 6 of your head pins. So let's make one unit. I'll show you how to make one wire wrapped unit, and then we're going to do all of them the same way. They'll just be different beads, but it will be the same process. So I'm going to take one of my eye pins. I'm going to drop one of my pieces of crystal on it, and then I'm going to grab my round nose plier. I'm going to place my round nose plier directly on top of that bead, just like this, and I am going to hold my pliers so that they're flat, parallel to the bead mat, and then I'm going to push my eye pin over the top of the back of the plier. Then I'm going to turn my hand. Now my pliers are up and down, and I'm going to take that piece of wire and I'm going to bring it over the top of the plier. And when I get about 3/4 of the way around, I'm going to then switch my hand flat again and draw this wire underneath the plier, just like this. So now I've created a loop. And if your loop isn't really centered, you can just kind of draw it back on the part that isn't open. Just put it on the opposite part of the loop and draw it back. Let me get you a little closer. Now this is what we have. I'm going to take my flat nose pliers and place it right on that loop, and then I'm going to move the excess piece of the eye pin the same angle as the plier, just like this. I'm going to switch my hands and hold this in my left hand so I can wrap with my right hand. I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and I'm going to begin wrapping around the length of wire that goes into the bead, and I'm going to wrap it until I get a nice tight wrap, and maybe even go an extra wrap around the top of the bead just for decoration, just like this. And so I'm going all the way around until I can't really go anymore, and then I am going to cut this excess piece. I'm actually going to bring it out a little bit so I can cut it as close as I possibly can with my flush cutters. And then, just like this, and then I'm going to grab my little crimping tool and I'm going to just push that excess piece of wire, the pokey piece, underneath the previous wraps, just like that. And we're going to do that with all of these beads. So you're going to make 3 in your crystal. If you have the blue ones, 3 in the crystal, 2 in your 6mm rounds, and then 1 in your 8mm round. And I did not put out an 8mm round. Yes, I did, for the elegant bag. So go ahead and make components for all of those. And I'm also going to show you what we're going to do with the crystal ones. So we're going to do that first so that as you're making them, you can have them prepared for the next step. We're going to take a piece of chain. We're going to first cut 5 links of the chain, or I'm going to open it and then put it on one of my crystal components. Then my other 2 components, I'm going to cut 3 links and put it on. So what I'm going to do is, let's get you close here. Let me rearrange my camera a little bit. And I'm just going to count 5 links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're using a different supplies than I am, different component, different chain, then you'll just have to measure. And when you see the next part, you'll be able to kind of discern how much you need. So I have my 5th link. My chain is open right there. I've arranged it so it's open on the top, and then I'm just twisting it open like this. I can take the rest of the chain off, and then I can take my component and I can drop it on that link and close it. Now you're going to do this only with the crystal ones. So you're going to need 3 pieces of chain. 1 will be 5 links. The next 2 will be 3 links. So count your 3rd link, open that 3rd link, and then drop it on your components that you have created. Once you have done that, then just make your regular wire wrapped components for these, and we will be back. Okay, so this is what you should have now. 3 of your crystal wire wrapped units with 1 with 5 chain links on it and 2 with 3 chain links on it. And then you should have your 8mm and your 2 6mm wrapped and ready. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab a 6mm jump ring, and we're going to find the opening, which is right here. Place a plier on one side of the opening, place another plier on the other side of the opening, and twist it open, just like this, and pretty wide. And, well, it doesn't have to be horribly wide for this part, but, you know, enough so that you can work with it well. Now, we are going to pick up, in this order, a 3 chain link crystal, and then the 5 chain link crystal, and drop them on right next to each other. And then we're going to pick up another, or the other 3 link crystal, just like this. So we've got all 3 of them on here, laying the way we want them to lay, and we're just going to put the plier back on and twist this closed again, making sure it's nice and tightly closed. Then we're going to lay that down. Pick up another 6mm jump ring and open it the same way, placing your pliers on either side. Crank it open, hold on to one end of it with your plier, and then put on, in this order, the 6mm round, the 8mm round, and the 6mm round, just like that. Then grab your plier and close your jump ring by just twisting it back the way it was in the beginning, just like that. Now we're going to get two 6mm jump rings out, and these are the ones we're going to open pretty wide. So we're going to pick up another one, and we are going to place the plier on one side of the opening and the other plier on the other side. Crank it open pretty wide. Then we're going to pick up the crystal component, and then we're going to pick up the pearl component. Now you want to make sure that your beads stayed in the arrangement you have them, so when you pick them up they look like this. And you're going to then pick up your component and you're going to put it on that jump ring, and then you're going to close the jump ring by twisting it back the way it was previously. Now I'm going to lay this down, and I'm just going to arrange it so I can see those two jump rings that my wire wrapped components are on. And I'm going to open another jump ring, a 6mm jump ring here. And I'm going to open him pretty wide, like that. Then, because I can see my two little jump rings here, I'm going to get you in really close. You can see them laying here. I'm going to scoop right through those two jump rings, making sure I don't go through the third one that I just put on, just the two that are holding my components. And I'm going to bring it up around, oh, sorry about that. So I'm just going to bring it up around the connector, just like this. So I've got that new little jump ring through the two component jump rings and around the connector, and now I am going to close it, just like this. Then I'm going to lay this out so that it's nice and neat, and separate out these two jump rings, just like this. We have to connect, because of the way we're connecting, this ensures that it's going to lay the way we want it to. So we have one jump ring on top of the other with our components, so that our components lay on top of each other instead of in a clustered mess. So you've got your long crystals on the bottom, you've got your pretty little rounds on the top, and then you've got two jump rings that are connecting them. Now to stabilize this so that it doesn't roll all around our component, we're going to put our stringing on these jump rings. So you're going to grab one of your 12-inch pieces of wire here. Of course, you can cut it longer if you want a longer necklace. You're going to put your jump ring on that piece of wire, or your jump ring, I'm sorry, your crimp bead. So this is a size 2 crimp bead. Put it on that piece of wire. Then run it through one of the jump rings here, and then bring enough through that jump ring so that you can bring that end through the crimp bead, just like this. Now I'm going to hold on to it so that it doesn't move, and I'm going to pull the longer length of wire to draw everything together, because I don't want to have a big end here because we're going to cut that off, and I want to retain as much wire as I can for my beading. So I'm just going to scoot that little crimp tube down, just like this, right there. So I have a big enough loop for some movement, but I don't want it huge. I want it arranged just like this, and then I'm going to pick up my crimping tool, and I'm going to use the second divot closest to the handle here. So this divot right here, I'm going to place my crimp tool on that tube, arrange it in there nicely, and I'm going to squeeze. And now you can see I have a fold, and I'm sorry, my hand might have been in the way, but I just placed it in there and squeezed it just like that. Now you see I have a fold right there, and I have either wire in the little tubes that were created when I squeezed that. Now I'm going to use the first divot on my crimping tool, and I'm going to place this little crimp bead in here sideways. Now this can be kind of tricky, so I'm going to move my crimp tube down a little bit more and place it in here sideways so that those two little tubes that were created when you squeezed it the first time are touching the tool on the sides here. So it's sideways in there, and I'm going to squeeze. And now you can see I have a nice little crimp there. I wanted my little loop to be a little smaller, but that's okay. Now I am going to lay this out again and find the other jump ring. So this one's right here. I'm going to make sure it's closed tightly because it does not look very closed. And I don't want to do this until it's closed. There we go. So now I'm going to lay it back out. Here's my other jump ring right there. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to grab my wire. I'm going to grab my crimping tube and put it on that wire, just like that. And I'm going to back off a little bit more. I'm doing this one also so that you can see it in case the first one wasn't perfect, because I know sometimes I get busy doing this and I don't pay attention to how blotted out I'm making things. So now I have got my crimp tube, I've got my wire through the other jump ring, and I'm going to draw enough of it through to bring it through the crimp tube. Just like this. Once I have it through like this, I'm holding on to it at the crimp bead, and I'm just going to pull the longer length of the wire and draw it down so that I don't use up too much wire on this side. Now I am going to make sure my loop is about the same size as the other one. Now I wanted my loop to be very small like this one, but evidently my tube slipped, so I'm going to make this one a little bit bigger so that the size of a match. It doesn't really matter, just make sure the size of the loops match that are going around your crimp, your jump ring through your crimp tube. And then I'm going to place this one. I'm holding my crimp tube in place. I'm going to place it into my tool. Yeah, let me reposition. I can't do that with my left hand, guys. So I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to bring that wire back through. I thought I was going to be magic and use my left hand there, and yeah, no, it doesn't want me to do that. So again, I'm going to match the size of loop here so you can see, and I'm going to grab my crimping tool. I'm going to place it in the tube in that first divot. I'm going to adjust my circle, my loop around just like this, and I'm going to squeeze. Now you can see I have a crimp here, half of my crimp. I have the two little folds, and now, and my loops are about the same size, which is good. And then I'm going to place my crimping tool back on that crimping tube in the first divot, the one closest to the tip of the plier, and I'm going to place it in there sideways so the two little tubes are touching the tool, and squeeze. Just like this. Now I have got, I'm going to lay this out so you can see it. I have got two pieces of wire attached just like this. And now I'm going to take my flesh cutter. I'm going to place it on this extra piece of wire as close as I can get to the crimp tube and cut that off. And do the same thing on the other side. And now I can start beading this. So I'll bead one side, and then we can, I'll show you the pattern I'm doing, and then we'll just match this side to the side that we've already done. So we'll just do them exactly the same. Now, you can see when I pick this up now, because of the way I've positioned my wire onto these jump rings, the way I positioned the jump rings that have the components on it, everything is stabilized. You don't have it rotating around your component, around your connector. Everything is going to stay right there. If you do not connect it this way, you're going to have a mess of things just jumbling around. This is going to hold everything into place and position those beads so they lay out in this really pretty cluster like this. Now, for the festive, we are going to start our beading by picking up a bead cap. Now again, you don't need a bead cap. You can do this without it. And if you're doing the blue, I'm going to show you the pattern on the blue here. So we're going to start here with our ripple pattern electroplated 8mm round. And on the blue one, you're going to start with your 8mm round that's faceted golden topped like that. So you can see the pattern there. And here we're then going to pick up another bead cap. And then I'm going to pick up an 8/0 and drop it down. And then I'm going to pick up one of my column crystals and drop it down. And I need to get some beads out, guys, because I wasn't being very smart. So we'll do this. And now I am going to pick up another 8/0 seed bead. Then I'm going to put 3 pearls on here. And then another 8/0 seed bead. And then one of my column beads. And then a bead cap. And then one of my 8mm rounds. And then a bead cap. Come here, bead cap. And then I'm going to put on another one of my column beads. And I'll show you specifically with this one too in a minute. This one changes a little bit from that one. That's why I'm showing this one in particular. So now I have that. I'm going to put on an 8/0 seed bead and 3 pearls. And an 8/0 seed bead. Then I am going to put on another one of my swirly beads. So I'm going to pick up a bead cap, grab one of my little ripple pattern beads, and then a bead cap. And then from this point right here, since we only have 10 of these beads and we need some for the earrings, and we've used one in the focal, we are going to stop using those, and we're just going to go into a pattern of crystal and pearls and 8/0s. So now I have this, just like this, and I'm going to pick up another one of my crystals, and then an 8/0. And then from this point on, I am just going to do 3 pearls, an 8/0, and then a piece of crystal. And I'm going to repeat that. and I'll come back and show you exactly what it will look like. But from this point on, I will then pick up another crystal here, and what I will have will be a crystal, an 8-0, 3 pearls, an 8-0, a crystal, an 8-0, 3 pearls, an 8-0, a crystal. So I'll come back and I will pause on it so you can see it exactly done. Here is the pattern for the elegant bag. I'm getting a little closer. Let me actually, yeah. So the whole thing is in the camera here. So I'm using an 8mm round, an 11-0, and then the 3 6mm rounds, and that's not an 11-0, it's an 8-0. 8mm round, 8-0, 3 6mm, 8-0, column bead, 8-0, 3mm, or 3 6mm, 8-0, and then a round. So what I have done is I've just alternated my round with my column bead between my 8-0 and my 3 11 or 6mm rounds. So this is what I've done. This is how many sections I've done. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections of my 6mm round, alternating my 8mm round and my column beads in between. So you can go ahead and pause, and you can just copy that if you would like, or just string it any way you want. It's your necklace. You can do what you want. Now I'm going to finish this one, and I will come back and show you what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and finish the other side too, and I'll come back and show you the stringing. Be right back. Okay, so I have finished my stringing for this side, and I have decided to only put 2 of these framed beads on here. I had 3 on there that I showed you previously, but this is what I've decided because I have to have enough to make my earring with too. So this is what we have. I'm just going to pause on it, let you see it, and I'm going to back off a little bit. I've ended with the crystal and 3 8-0 seed beads, and then I've dropped on a size 2 crimp tube. We're going to go ahead and crimp that off, and then we'll do the other side exactly the same. But I wanted you to see the pattern that I have done in case you want to copy it. So go ahead and pause on it. All right, let's move on. So now I have put onto the end of my wire here 3 8-0s in a crimp tube. Like I said, I'm going to grab my lobster claw clasp and I'm going to drop it on. And then I'm going to bring my wire through the other end of it, through the crimp tube, through the 3 8-0s, and through the crystal, just like this. Now that I have the end here through the crystal, I'm going to find which end is stable on the top here. So this side doesn't move, and as I pull on the wire down here, this side does. So I'm going to hold on to the side that doesn't move until I can't really hold on to it anymore. Then I'm going to grab a hold of my beads and I'm going to pull this all down tight. Now you see I still have a gap, so I'm going to push the crimp tube down with my fingernail just like this, push that bead down, hold on to my beads, and pull everything really tight. I'm pulling everything together as tight as I can and not leaving a loop or anything for the clasping at this moment. We'll change that. But right now we just want them all to be very, very tight. So you can push it down and pull it until everything is flush like this. Then you're going to take your flush cutters and you're going to cut that wire right up underneath that crystal there. Then to draw that little piece of wire that's sticking out up into the bead, you're going to push down on the crimp tube, and at the same time create a little loop for your clasp to move around on. So we don't want it to be really big, maybe a little bigger than that, just enough that draws in this little extra piece of wire, holds everything stable for you so you can crimp without trying to balance everything. And then you're going to take your crimp tool, put it in the divot closest to the handle, and squeeze. And you can see I have, if I can turn it, come here. There. And now I have my little V in the middle here. It's a little V fold. And I can take my crimp tool again, and in this very first divot closest to the tip, I'm going to put the crimp tube in there so that the two little tubes are on either side of the crimp tool, touching the crimp tool, and I'm going to squeeze. That forces those two little tubes together and gives you a really nice crimp. You have no extra wire, you have nothing poking because of this particular method. It works really great, and it's a nice sturdy crimp. Now, this side of my necklace is finished. And you can see I can toss it all around and it's still going to come up beautiful on the inside here. So, what I'm going to do now that this side is finished is I'm going to copy it onto this side exactly the same way and crimp it off exactly the same way. However, use a jump ring. So I'm going to use an 8mm jump ring and a little bit heavier jump ring, probably a 20 gauge. And so let's go ahead and string this. I'll come back and show you how to connect your jump ring for your clasping after we have strung it all up. And then we'll make some earrings. Okay, so now you can see I have done my other side of my necklace here, and I'm just going to put on the jump ring. Now you can use a wire guardian if you want for this, but if you don't want to, just make sure that your jump ring is closed tightly. And I have dropped my crimp tube on here already. And I'm just going to put my jump ring on. And then I'm going to go back through my crimp tube. And I'm going to go through all of the 8 O's I put on and the crystal. Just kind of feed that through until I see it come out the other end here. And there it is. So I'm going to grab my pair of pliers and grab that wire. Then I'm going to find the side that moves and hold on to the stable side. So now I'm holding on to the stable side. Get you in a little closer of the wire here. And I'm going to pull on the side that moves. And I'm doing it this way so I can keep everything together. And then when I get about this far, I'm going to hold on to my beads and pull it really tight, just like that. Make sure there's no slack on the other end of your strand. Pull it down tight, no slack anywhere, and then cut real close to the bottom of that crystal. Then push down your crimp tube, looking at your other side so you can make the loop about the same size, and push it down, which draws the wire into your bead. And then if you get a little too much, you can always push it back in. Find the side that moves and push it back in a little bit. And then once you have it the size you want it, put your crimp plier in the first divot, the one closest to the handle, on the crimp tube and squeeze. Just like that. And now you can see I have my little V-fold right here. And I'm going to grab my crimp tool again and put this crimp bead in the first divot closest to the handle. The jump ring wants to argue with me. And then squeeze again. Now I have a nice tight crimp. Everything looks good, and I can clasp now. Hopefully I was in camera there. I did exactly the same thing I did on the other side. I just used a jump ring this time. Now I can lay this out, and you can see that my beads will pile up the way that I want them to, right on the front there, because of the way we put them in that component. And there is our necklace. Now, let's make a pair of earrings. So what you're going to do, you're going to double this, of course, because I've already made one. So we are going to make exactly the same components that we made for the necklace portion, the focal portion. So you've got your 3 crystals with your 5 links and then 3 links of chain and on a 6mm jump ring right here. Then you've got your 6mm, 8mm, 6mm on a 6mm jump ring. You're going to take your ear wire and open the ear wire on the side that opens. Just crank it open just like a jump ring. And then because I am holding this to where the front of my earring is up, so it's this way, I am first going to put on my round beads, and then I'm going to pick up the jump ring with my crystal and put it on. That way they will lay out so that the earring is correct forward facing here. Now that I have those on and I've closed the loop on my ear wire, you can see how pretty my earring is. And when it dangles perfectly. When you lay it out on flat surface, it's not so perfect, but you can see it still arranges itself really nice because we have the double jump rings. And the double jump rings make sure that it stays the way that you want it to. Just like that. And then we can put our little necklace. You just have to push the crystals to the front of the component because one is a little bit longer than the component. And just like this. And you have a beautiful set. Turns out really nice. Now you'll do exactly the same thing with the black set. You'll make the components exactly like you did for your focal on your necklace. And we'll lay this one out next to that one. And you can see that they're both really pretty. And here's the earring, but bonk. There's the earring for that one. And I think that they turn out really pretty. They lay really nice on the neck. And this turns out to be about an 18.5 to 19-inch necklace. And I think it's just pretty. So these would make really nice gifts. Whatever you want to do with them. Sell them, whatever. And that is the tutorial for today. I will be making more tutorials with the treasure bags, so I hope you'll tune in, and I hope you enjoy your day, evening, whatever it is, morning. Have a good one. Bye-bye.